Hello, Jinping. Pleasure to have you. How we doing? Lackluster ending? Clearly, we're going to have a exciting discussion, to say the least. That doesn't seem right. We've been live for a minute already. Anyway, hello everyone. Excuse me. Hello everyone. How's it going? As you can see, we have another chapter in our discussion of JJK's ending. I saw the spoilers. I haven't read the chapter yet, but I saw the raw scans. I have some thoughts, but I do want to read the chapter before we get into things. Obviously, people feel very strongly about this particular chapter and also how this ending to JJK is playing out. So I'm excited to read the chapter, and I'm curious to see sort of what the divide is in the community. What's going on? Random Name 2.0. Good day. CO52, hello. Good evening, except if you don't like Don. Hey man, I'm excited. We're finally getting Don back this week. It's coming back Tuesday, September 3rd. I could not be more excited, but we'll talk about that on Tuesday. For everyone in chat, in case you did not see the monthly update, if you want to, just go to the community page and read the post for the September post. You finally have the option to do super chats and super thanks. I will update the UI for the stream layout so that we have stream goals and we can, work together to reach those goals. I'm hoping to reach somewhere between $50 to $75 every stream. Obviously, no expectation whatsoever. It's all about the discussion and, seeing all of you great people every week. But, of course, even something as small as just $1 is a small step, but a huge help into not just supporting, but growing the channel so that I can continue to do things like this and also do more exciting things like more videos, more streams, more content. So, as always, or as I said, you now have the option to highlight your own messages, pay a quick thanks with super chats and super thanks. On that note, we'll give everyone, what time is it? 12:02. We'll give everyone like a few-ish more minutes, and then we'll get started. In the meantime, I'm just going to share the stream on Twitter. Justin, what's going on? Pleasure to have you. So Justin, as I was just explaining, I wrote about it in the September post, but we finally have super chats and super thanks. So, of course, no expectations, but if you would like to make a small donation to the channel, help out any way you can, show your appreciation, you do have that option now. But we're just giving everyone a couple of minutes before we get started. Where are we? I don't think anyone, like, the thing with Yuji's death and that theory was there was obviously a lot of ground for it. There was a lot of substance behind that theory, but I don't think the majority of people looked at it like, oh no, this is definitely happening. Right? So the fact that that hasn't happened yet, like, I'm not really that upset about it. Bro did not visit r/Jujutsu folk. No? Are people loving this chapter? Because, I don't know. I've seen it pretty divided. But, I mean, I could be wrong. Soul, finally, we're having our JJK stream. I know you were excited for this one. Also, Soul, we did finally set up super chats and super thanks. So, again, with everybody else, no expectations. But if you guys want to help get the ball rolling on that one, it would be a huge help to the channel. Dr. Divine Gamer says I'm kind of indifferent. I'm not indifferent. I'll save it towards the end of the chapter discussion, but I'm generally liking how things are turning out. I'll articulate that more later. Oh no, so it's the other way around. r/Jujutsu folk is the embodiment of people not knowing how to read the story. They hate the ending. Yeah, that's kind of the vibe I was getting, was people are like, yeah, Gege kind of fumbled, which I don't entirely agree with. The ending is too corny. Yeah, I can definitely see how you would view it that way. I can't really argue with that because I wouldn't call it corny, but it is, typical. Like, it is very Shonen Jump. It's very like, hey, let's be friends, let's be cool, let's do the right thing, let's be good guys. Whereas a lot of people were expecting everyone to die and it to be depressing and terrible and jaded and, everyone like Sasuke with the hoodie. Also, Blazing Boy, I did not say hi. Hello, how are you? Pleasure to have you as always. Hot take, every Anituber needs to have this month with like OG does. So since you brought that up, the reason I do those is because when I started those, I was big into Destiny 2, and I don't know how frequent they do them now with the current state of things, but Bungie, the developer of Destiny 2, used to at least, they would do weekly updates. Now for this channel, it doesn't make a ton of sense at the moment to do weekly updates. But I like to do monthly updates for you people who, regularly engage with the channel and look forward to new stuff on the channel, it gives you the opportunity to kind of playing around things, have an idea of what's going on, what I'm planning, and also give feedback, which I value a lot. I welcome and appreciate feedback from all of you. But I've already plugged it like 5 times at this point, so I'm going to say it one last time. If you have not read the post, and if you didn't hear me before, we do finally have super chats and super thanks. The goal at the moment is something like $50 to $75 per stream. Of course, not expecting anything from anyone at all. That's not the goal. The goal is great discussions and for everyone to feel like they contributed something and took something away. That being said, even something as small as $1 is a small step, but a big help in not just supporting the channel, but helping to grow the channel. So if you'd like to, is that Soul? What do we got? Soul with $5. Big spender, big money. Thank you, Soul. Soul said, I'm going to miss my man Sukuna. Hey man, let's save that for later in the stream. I'm not going to say anything else. Soul, thank you. Soul got the ball rolling. So we're already $5 in. Can we get another $5? Let's see. Hopefully, maybe. We'll see. But anyway, yeah, anything, even $1. You can be a part of growing this channel. You can be a part of this channel's future. And like Soul just did, you can highlight a message, get me to pay attention more. On that note, let's go ahead and look at the chapter. So, where are we? We are on chapter 268. So again, I said it before. OG just confirmed it. He has 0 expectations of his chat. That's not true. I always go into the stream expecting everyone to sort of help me to understand what people are thinking about what we're talking about, whether it be Chainsaw Man, Jujutsu Kaisen, Dawn to Dawn, One Piece, whatever. That being said, when it comes to money stuff, you know, I'm not in it for the money. Obviously, I want to do this full time, and I welcome your support, but that's not why I do it. On that note, let's go ahead and get into the chapter. So I said it before at the beginning of the stream. I only saw spoilers. So I only saw raw scans. I did not read the translated scans on whenever they come out Saturday. So I do know what happens in this chapter, but I don't know exactly what happens. I don't know the full story. On that note, before I get started, for people who did read the chapter, as I get into this, I just want to hear, for people who read the scans, what did you think of the chapter? I'll look at chat real quick before we get started. What a Mess says, I think the problem with this chapter is a combination of everything. The chapters had a very similar structure until the conclusion, which is tiring, excuse me. Interesting. And then the conclusion, excuse me. And then it all ends and you're like, that's it? Well, we do have a few more chapters left. I won't miss Sukuna. Good riddance. Never liked him. Uh-oh, Blazing Boy with the burning hot takes. All right, so let's get into things. All right, so we are on chapter 268, Settling Matters. And it opens with Megumi seemingly interacting with Sukuna. Sukuna says, how will you ever be able to face the world again? You had your body stolen by me. and your sister was killed, and you refused help, and oh right, the boy you saved slaughtered lots of people. Just give up. You'll never be able to live a normal life. So stay quiet and let me handle things. So one thing I'll point out, and I don't know how significant this is necessarily, but it's just something I noticed on this page. It starts with Sukuna having a face-to-face, and then as he gets more accusatorial, if that's a word, as he gets more aggressive, he kind of transitions from his human-looking form to just like his pure curse form, and it's like this raw energy sort of overwhelming and literally cursing Megumi. So we continue. Why are you so desperate? One of Sukuna's fingers is still out there. Oh, so this is Megumi now. So Megumi says, why are you so desperate? One of Sukuna's fingers is still out there. If the way to become a cursed object is set and Itadori pulls me out, you'd die. Plus, resonance isn't always good for you. If 19 fingers disappear, the last one probably can't carry on your soul. But I'm relieved to see that even you fear death. I never intended to live a normal life. The world is full of people besides myself. Once more, I think I'll live for others. That's kind of awkwardly worded. I mean, I know exactly what he's saying, but I never intended to live a normal life. I feel like there should be, but I don't know. That might be an awkward translation. But then we turn the page. We see, I'm assuming that's Yuji's domain shattering into pieces. So he punches what would appear to be Sukuna, but it looks like Megumi. And you can see the white hair is turning into black hair, so turning into Megumi, right? And then, of course, so interesting. So Yuji punches him. It took me a while to get this. So Yuji punches Sukuna, and when he lands this punch, Sukuna and Megumi separate into two physical beings. Megumi in his normal body, and Sukuna in this like fleshy, weird amalgamation, the homunculi thing, homunculus. So when we turn to pages 4 and 5, Sukuna is freaking out. He's in this weird hand form. He looks like a weird germ from Osmosis Jones. But now he's set on fire? Yeah, he just sort of sets on fire. Whether that was a consequence of Yuji's attack or what, he either just spontaneously combusted or Yuji somehow set him on fire. Who knows? But now he's this weird germ thing from Osmosis Jones. And he looks up and Yuji is just looking over him. Interestingly enough, Yuji has a big scar on his right eye now. I don't know if that was in the last chapter. Let's see, what do we got? JJK fans hate the ending because nothing could ever satisfy them. All they do is complain and complain and complain. Yeah, JJK fans can be weird. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of too. So, where are we? Jingping said, it reminds me of that episode of Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood ending versus Envy. Yeah, that's similar vibes for sure. I'll miss the fraud Kuna memes. Yeah, I will say that. All the Sukuna and like Gojo memes and stuff like that. I will miss that. Stand proud this fandom was strong. depends on your definition of strong. Please make Kagurabachi videos. We already have one on the channel, and I won't spoil it, but you can expect another one this month. But with Jujutsu Kaisen ending, we'll probably have more time to discuss Kagurabachi on these Sunday streams. As a matter of fact, with One Piece on break, we will probably be reading Kagurabachi after this chapter. Oh, yeah, all the Justin with the nah, I'd win memes. Yeah, true. I'll miss those. That's probably the funniest meme to come out of Jujutsu Kaisen. Anyway, so we have Yuji, Megami, and this weird Osmosis Jones thing, aka Sukuna, the King of Curses. So now Yuji is standing over Sukuna, and he says, "So what's it gonna be, Sukuna?" And then we get a flashback to Yuji saying, "Free Fushiguro, I'll spare you if you return to me." And then Yuji says, "Sukuna, you are me." Sort of a callback to his discussion with Mahito. He says, "We were born with the burden of a curse, and the monster you became was up to luck. But I had my grandfather. Sukuna, let's do it again. Not to curse someone, but to live with someone. Even if no one else accepts it, I'm willing to go on living with you." So, this is probably one of the most divisive scenes in the series. Because if you are someone that really values Yuji's simple-hearted and optimistic characteristics, then you probably love this scene because it affirms Yuji's good character. It's a mature take on what he was trying to do in the early story of like being a good guy, but now he's sort of come full circle and he's still trying to be a good guy, but he's coming at it in a much more realistic and sort of seasoned perspective of like he knows Sukuna is a bad dude, but now instead of like just being, you know, like a superhero, he's approaching it with mercy, which is much more mature in a way. But if you hate Sukuna, or you don't really view this as part of Yuji's character, or you view this as inconsistent with the tone and themes of Jujutsu Kaisen, then you probably hate this, right? Like if you are like, Sukuna is, you know, he's the villain of villains, like he's a bad guy, he's completely irredeemable. Or if you're like, Jujutsu Kaisen was never about like trying to save people like Mahito, like Kenjaku, and now suddenly we're trying to save Sukuna, then I think it's safe to say that you would hate this scene. And neither is totally wrong. It does feel weird, even as someone who does like this scene. I don't love it necessarily, but I do like it. But even saying that, even feeling that way, it does feel weird. But let's continue. So Yuji says all that, and then Sukuna says, "I gotta compliment how complete you are in acting the fool, Yuji Itadori." So interesting. Now that he's lost, Sukuna finally calls Yuji by his name, and not just Yuji, but like his full name. I don't know how many times he's actually done that in the series. Does anybody know about how many times Sukuna has actually called Yuji by his name and not just like the boy or the brat or, you know, like the child, right? But he says, "You've done a good job of acting the fool, Yuji Itadori, but do not dare to insult me, for I am a curse." And then we turn the page, and seemingly Sukuna is gone forever. I know we have this stuff with Uraume, but just on that scene alone, it does seem like maybe Sukuna is truly gone for good. I don't know. But we turn back to everyone's favorite fight, Hakari versus Uraume. Uraume says it's all over. Hakame. Now I'm just making stuff up. Hakari says, "Yep, looks that way. So now what?" Nothing. It's the end. If Sukuna lost, it's because he was a fully fleshed curse. It's not because you guys were strong. You merely got lucky. Being born 1,000 years later saved your lives. And then Hakari says, "I merely got lucky. That's the ultimate praise for a guy like me." And then Uraume says, I guess you're right. And then just like vanishes into thin air, like poof. Like she literally poofs away into dust. Just flies away into dust. And then we cut to Megami. And we got the Scar Gang now. And we'll talk about this, but I want to spend a little time talking about Hakari versus Uraume. This is probably the most united the fan base will ever be. And I say that because I think we can all agree that this was probably the biggest letdown in the entire series. I mean, Hakari, you know, he had his fights. I'm happy with him. This isn't really a blow to his character. However, Uraume might be the biggest plot device in the entire series. Like, Uraume had cool moments, but what does she do in this story? What character moments does she honestly have that you're like, wow, that's a cool character, right? Like, I guess what I'm trying to say is, after this chapter, what can you honestly say about Uraume other than like, oh, she's a cool ice user, or wow, she was really loyal to Sukuna? Like, beyond that, there's nothing to her character. It just kind of adds to the fact that characters like this, Nobara, other characters, like, they had so much potential, but it just feels like Gege didn't really have anything planned out properly with them. And so by the time we get to the ending, it's like, well, I just have to wrap them up, right? Like, I didn't have anything to do for them, but they're still in the story, so I got to do something. And it just feels like such a waste of time. Like, the fact that a character like Hakari, who had so much time dedicated to making his ability arguably the most unique ability in the series, for him to get an off-screen, basically fodder fight where he's relegated to just, you know, doing guard duty, is the biggest waste of time. It's so dumb. And again, I still like Hakari. I think he's a perfectly good character. But the fact that, like, there was no trade-off for, you know, the fact that this whole fight was off-screened, it's so dumb. It contributes nothing to the story other than, like, because this happened, neither character could interfere with the final fight. And it's just, it feels lazy. Let's see what you guys think. Where are we? Gege didn't know how to make their fight. That's it. It's not even that. It's just like, it feels like he didn't even bother to think about giving them a fight. And it didn't even need to be the craziest fight, but the fact that there wasn't any fight at all it's just stupid. We'll go back a bit. So, what a mess. Talking about Sukuna. So, what a mess said, I don't know about you, but I didn't get the feeling that Sukuna was pathetic in the end, as many say. Instead of surrendering to Yuji's words for fear of death, he reaffirms his existence. I will say the redeeming part of that scene is that Sukuna isn't like, oh, the King of Curses was the friends we made along the way or something stupid like that. Like, he doesn't have a Eren Yeager scene where he like totally flips and is like, no, I want hugs and kisses and best friends and this and that. I'm actually a huge wuss. Like, he stays in character till the end. Where are we? I like what Yuji said, but I would have preferred if the punchline was, you were weak, Sukuna. The idea that Sukuna wasn't strong enough to be redeemed and that he truly was pitied. I just think the fact that Yuji showed him mercy is pity enough. Like, he's not trying to demean Sukuna. He's trying to treat him with humanity. But the fact that he's doing that is demeaning enough. So I do see what you're saying, but it wouldn't really be in character for that scene. I'm referring to the Hakari fight. It's not dumb. It's story 101. If it's not important to the story, don't explain it. So here's the thing, right? Is it essential to the story? No. Like, we get what Gege was doing. But at the same time, you have this character that's been a part of the story for hundreds of chapters. They've shown up again and again, and they've like been a part of the story, and you don't get any like fleshing out of the character whatsoever. It's like they are literally, if you take Uraume's character arc, like their story in this manga, and you write down everything that they've contributed and you compare that to like what we learned about this character, like what, you know, personality traits they have, they're just a plot device. There's nothing to her character. She is literally just a plot device. And was it essential to have her be the most complex character? No, but we don't even get anything about her character in the final fight of the series. So, did we need something crazy for her character? No, but she's been a plot device the whole story, and it makes her character boring. She's just boring. That's really what it comes down to. But let's continue. So Hakari says, oh, if you're calling me lucky, that's the ultimate praise for a guy like me. And Uraume, that's the other thing too. Like, the fact that she just like poofs away is like, what? That's so dumb. That's literally so dumb. She just poofs away. Like, you get this nothing off-screen fight, and then the ending is she just dies. She literally vanishes into thin air. It's so stupid. So then we turn to Megumi. He's waking up in bed. And we get a nice callback to the early days of JJK in the nice Team Yuji, I'll call them. They're like the Team 7 of Jujutsu Kaisen, but we'll call them Team Yuji. Or Team Tokyo, I guess. Anyway, we get this really goofy panel of Yuji and Nobara, and Yuji trying to put Nobara in a box, and Megumi's like, what the hell are you guys doing? And Yuji goes, planning a Kugasaki's alive surprise. Oh, they both say it at the same time, excuse me. And Megumi, in classic Megumi fashion, just goes, oh, sorry. So then they fast forward, and it would appear that they're back to the Tokyo Academy headquarters, because we get the like classic Japanese looking scenery. So it does look like they're back at school, back at the Tokyo branch. They could be in Kyoto, but I have no idea. So it cuts to the three of them sitting down, chilling out. And Nobara says, hey, the hottest girl in class you thought was dead is alive, so you should piss yourself in surprise or weep for joy. Of course, classic Nobara. They're all drinking something ambiguous, something canned, maybe tea, maybe soda, who knows. I know that's a weird thing to bring up, but I am kind of curious what they're drinking. That's just me. But Yuji says, I did cry a bit when you did Resonance. Megumi says, I found out while I was in Sukuna. How would he have found out while he was in Sukuna? Was that like an aura thing? Who knows? Anyway. Our class only has 3 people. Yeah, I guess I needed to be here. Be there. Well, shall we get to it? And they're like, what are you talking about? Ieri received these letters from Gojo. Now that we're all together, we can open them. Letters? Yeah, it's not like him. Imagining him writing them creeps me out. Ouch, that's mean. Yuji says there are only 2. I don't have one. And obviously they're labeled with their names and a cute little Gojo drawing on them. Yuji says, that's because I talked to him directly. So I saw this in the scans, but I don't remember when this happened. Can anyone tell me what scene he's referring to? Because I don't remember what he's talking about. But anyway, Nobara opens her letter, and it says, so Yuji says, what did he write? And Nobara says, it's just info on where my mom is and what she's doing. So they say, did you want to know that? And she goes, nope, and crumbles it right up. I'm surprised he was able to find her. I guess I should have expected it. So while she says that, Megumi is reading his letter, and almost out of character, he's pissing his pants laughing. And Nobara says, did you make special grade? And they're like shitting their pants because they're like, wait, Megumi is laughing? What the hell's going on? And they're like, I gotta know, show me, can I see it? And so he says, actually, it's a lot like Kugasaki's. And then we get a perfect, I don't know about you guys, but this is meme material right here. Their reaction to this letter is hilarious. And again, also a beautiful callback to all of the great chibi faces of early Jujutsu Kaisen. But they read it and they go, it's kind of harsh. So why were you laughing? And a great panel of Megumi where he's just like, after he's been so depressed, he just kind of sits there and laughs and he goes, it's okay. And they go, well, if you say so. And the letter says, sorry, Megumi, but your dad's a goner. I wasted his ass. My bad. I do want to talk about that scene, because I think there's a lot to unpack there. But if we continue, there's a clock, and it says it's 2 o'clock. So, presumably 2 o'clock in the afternoon, because why would they be up at 2 in the morning? And they go, uh-oh, I gotta go see Maki and the others. And they're like, what? They go, come with us, Fushiguro. Everyone's gonna get together. I guess I should apologize and say thanks. No, this isn't about that. And he's like, what? It's about Okotsu-senpai. We have to save him. And I guess Nobara says, Yuta, you jerk. And they go, oh, save him from them. Interesting. So that is the chapter. So I'll ask again. How would you all rate the chapter? I would probably give it like... I would give it like a 6 or a 7. Probably more like a 7. I do like this chapter, but obviously it has its issues, especially its areas of contention. We talked about the Yuji and Sukuna stuff. We talked about the Uraume stuff. I love how we handled the reunion of these 3 characters. I do want to talk about the scene with Megumi and the letter, because like I said, there's a lot to unpack there. But let's see what you guys have to say. 7.5, 7. Okay, that makes sense. I rate it with a big, that's it. Yep, 7. So yeah, I think everyone, at least in our community, is in agreement that, you know, it's good. Far from perfect, but it's good. Let's see, what else did I miss? Megumi found out probably like how memories flooded Yuji anytime he gains control from Sukuna. I guess that makes sense. I don't know if we ever got the explanation for that, though. Which, that brings up another point that I'll bring up later. Justin said, OG, would it have messed with the pacing if they kept switching between fights? Maybe that's why Gege didn't put the fight, because he wanted to focus on the Sukuna fights. That is probably the best argument for why we didn't get anything from that fight. Is obviously, like any other manga, they have a timeline for when they need to end things, right? Because of just time, right? Like, we gotta wrap this up. But also, like, they only have so many chapters to do it, because they gotta end it so that they can sell the final volume and have the final volume actually have X amount of chapters. So obviously he only has so much time to wrap this up. So on that note, the best argument for not dedicating screen time to the Uraume Hakari fight is it allowed us to have all the other great scenes we did. That being said, I don't like how it was handled. I think it's fine. It works for what it is. But I just think, especially if you're an Uraume fan, or if you were, it's such a big letdown. Like, you get nothing from this character. They are literally there to show up out of nowhere, have slightly cool moments, and then die into thin air like nothing. at the very least, I think what would have been a better ending is if Hakari had managed to actually beat Uraume, and then she like poofs into thin air. But like, that's not even what happened. They were seemingly in a draw, like they were even. And then she's like, "Oh, so you're gonna lost. All right, bye everybody, peace." So it's stupid. Let's see what else. I think she died since the culling game is over with Sukuna's death. I mean, maybe, but everyone else is alive, so that doesn't really make sense. So Justin says that's so Gojo telling Megumi, "I destroyed your dad." Yeah, I really like that moment. And again, as we'll get into in a couple of minutes, there's a ton to unpack there. It's a very deep scene, even though it seems like it's very silly and it's very easy to overlook. Can you imagine how many times Uraume had to listen to the song from Hakari's ability? I would hate to have to fight Hakari. Fighting Hakari must be like fighting a Elden Ring level boss, except it's in a gacha game. That would piss me off to no end. But I still think he's a badass character. I think it would have been refreshing to switch to the Uraume fight because the structure of the Sukuna fight was getting repetitive. Yeah. Again, it's a lot of what ifs. We can never really know because then it's like, so what would he have taken out? That's the thing. The series would have been just as long. So if he did that, it's like, what wouldn't we have gotten? So it's like, I don't even know. In the last page, I think it was a voice inside the room that said, "Yuta, you jerk," and then Megumi refers to them saving the people. Yeah, I'm not really sure what's going on there. So yeah, they're walking down the aisle. So when I tried to decipher where they are, it does seem like they're at the Kyoto branch and not the Tokyo branch, because it does have this like old school Japanese vibe to the scenery with like all the trees and the tables and the structures of the buildings and like the paper screen walls. It does look like the Kyoto branch. So in that case, when you look at that final panel, it sort of creates the impression that Yuta and everybody is just right down the hall. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Justin Garcia, big spender, $2. Thank you, my man. Appreciate that. So he's spending that $2 to manifest. Yuta lives. Sorry, he's my favorite character. No, if anything, we need that energy. We need everyone to sort of cross their fingers, say a quick prayer for Yuta. I think he's going to be fine. I think he's too much of a fan favorite character for him to die. So if I was a betting man, I would bet money that Yuta is going to be just fine. Obviously, probably scarred or injured somehow, but I think he'll be fine. I'm back. Is Yuta getting sued or what? I don't know about Yuta getting sued, but I think he's going to get some backlash from his friends for practically trying to kill himself. What else? So thank you, Brantley C, for pointing that out. So let's talk about, wasn't Gojo a fan favorite character? True, but the way that fight ended was also fitting for Gojo's character. I think people who like Gojo understand why his character was handled that way. Whereas with Yuta, I mean, Yuta was literally one of the very first characters. Like, he was the main character for a brief period. So, as much as people love seeing main characters die because it's cool and it's edgy and blah, 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 it's like, come on, man. Yuta's wholesome. Let him live. Let him be a dude. Let him marry Maki. Anyway, let's talk about this Megami scene. But first, I'm going to take a quick sip of water, and I would invite you all to do the same. So, with this Megami scene, there's a few things going on. So, there's a theme of Gojo communicating to the students about their parents, which is interesting because Gojo is their teacher, but now he's gone. So in a way, it's almost like, it's implicitly like him saying, listen, I can't be there anymore, so if you guys need an adult, here's your parents, right? So that's one way to look at it, right? It also shows how much he cares about these characters, these kids, because he went to the trouble of finding Nobara's mother. And then with Megami's message, I would have to go back and sort of timeline things, but I'm not really sure if Gojo knew that Megami knew that his father was dead, because obviously we have the scene in Shibuya where Megami fights the reincarnation of Toji. Now, I don't know if someone can confirm it in chat, but I don't know if we ever explicitly got confirmation that Megami knew that that was his father. That being said, there's definitely ways to support the theory that Megami already knew that his father was dead. So with this letter, it's not so much Gojo trying to inform Megami, but there is that level to it. But I think more than anything, what Gojo is trying to accomplish in this letter, because notice the contrast with Nobara, it's much more it's more a message of guidance, like, hey, here's your mom, do with it what you will, right? There's no humor in that. With Megami's letter, it's all about the comedy of it, right? It's like, hey, and the other contrast being, we don't get to see Nobara's letter, so it's all about the content of the message. But with Megami's, we don't get him explaining it. We just see the letter as is. And we actually, like, we see the letter and we get to read it and look at it. So it's not so much, or it's not just the content of the message, it's also the delivery of the message. And he says, "Sorry, Megumi, but your dad's a goner. I wasted his ass. My bad," with a Gojo smiley face. So part of it is Gojo kind of confirming that for Megumi, right? Because he sent one parental message to Nobara. Now he's sending another one to Megumi. It's this double theme of, hey, I'm gone, so here's your parents. And because of that, this carries a message of comedy, because it's like, hey, you were expecting this letter of like, you know, me being super, you know, insightful, and it's just him saying, hey, your dad's dead, I killed him, oops. So I think the ultimate goal of Gojo's letter to Megumi wasn't to be super insightful, but to make Megumi laugh, which is a really nice touch to Gojo's character, because what it shows is that Gojo knew if Megumi survived this, that he would need a good laugh. And that's exactly what happened. Megumi he's better than he was a chapter ago. He's made this step from, I'm all set, I don't need to stick around, to, why don't I give this whole living thing another try? And now, and now he has, like, he got, like, probably the biggest laugh we've seen him get in the entire series. And he has that thanks to Gojo. So I think more than anything, this is like a final moment between Gojo and Megumi, where Gojo knew that Megumi was going to need sort of like a pat on the back. And that's what he's doing here. There's obviously a lot to unpack, but I've been kind of talking this scene to death for a while now. But my takeaway from this is a really nice touch to not just Megumi's character, but even more so, I would say, Gojo's character, because Gojo had the foresight and the wherewithal to say, if Megumi makes it out of this, he's going to be pretty depressed, so let me give him a good laugh. But what do you guys think about that scene? Is there anything else you would take away from it? Yuta really took the burden of the Sukuna fight on himself? I don't know if I would go that far, but he was one of the biggest contributors for sure. And also, there were so many characters that fought Sukuna that you can definitely do some kind of tier list, which is an interesting idea for a stream. But it's hard to say who really was like the MVP of that fight. Although we'll definitely have to do I think maybe the next time Chainsaw Man or Dandadan goes on break, we'll do a JGK stream, and we'll do that tier list, because I'm curious to see what people say about that. So to my earlier question, did Megumi ever know that was Toji and that he was dead? As far as I know, I don't think Megumi ever knew. I thought that, but I could be wrong. I'll have to look back. Buji Kitatori will be the new MC in part 2, alongside with Rojo, Sobara, and yeah, I don't know about Jujutsu Kaisen part 2. I am not so sure we're getting that. I don't think Jujutsu Kaisen was long enough, like Bleach or Naruto, to get the part 2 that everyone's expecting. I think Megumi knew his dad was dead, but didn't know that Gojo killed him. there's a lot to unpack about that too, right? Like, what does Megami think about the fact that Gojo killed his dad? That's certainly a discussion to have. And like also his reaction to it. What else? When is so I'll tell everyone right now, as far as, do we have 2 or 3 chapters left? So no, we have 3 chapters left, I'm pretty sure. Because I think it might go on break sometime this month, but I'm pretty sure the final chapter is supposed to drop. I think it's September 29th is the final chapter. If somebody could confirm that. I'm pretty sure they said the final chapter is September 29th. It literally says it at the end of the chapter, does it? Well, maybe on the scans. I didn't read the scans. We have 3 chapters. Okay, that's what I thought. It's on break next week. So maybe... Well, we'll do another Jujutsu Kaisen... Or we'll do another Weekly Shonen Jump stream next week. But, I don't know. It's still too early to do that, so maybe we'll do that after the series ends. Yeah, September 29th. Okay, that's what I thought. Thank you, everyone. Hello, I am back from coping with learning how to draw anatomy. Coping from Dawn to Dawn romance, by the way. Dawn to Dawn romance is on another level. For sure. So we have 3 chapters left. What are some of our theories for what Akutami is going to show us in these final 3 chapters? Obviously, the next one is going to deal with Yuta. So what are your theories for what we're going to see in the final 3 chapters? I'll pose this question. Which characters do you think need to be showed in some way in the final chapters? So, for example, do we need a Kenjaku cameo somehow? Do we need a cameo of Yuji's parents? So what characters do we need to see fleshed out somehow? Some kind of cameo? And more importantly, what questions have to be answered in these final 3 chapters? Yuji's grandpa? Yeah, I definitely think we need some kind of explanation for what the hell is going on with Yuji. Because I feel like there's still a lot of mystery with his character, which is good earlier in the story, but by the end of it, it does leave us wanting more, for sure. We already know who Yuji's mom is. True. I'm trying to think. That's really only that's at this point the only thing I really want explored is like what the hell was Yuji's powers, like how he messed with people's memories, what his cursed or what his domain really is, what is so special about him, like we got like the bare bones, but I feel like it would be more satisfying if we could get some black and white answers. Yuji's dad for sure. Yeah, in a way. I think a time skip may happen showing how Gojo's dream has been fulfilled by the next generations. Yeah, I think that would be pretty cool. I think it would be very cool for fans and also pretty fitting if we got a time skip either next chapter or in the following chapter where we got some updated designs for the characters. Is it necessary? No, but I think that would be pretty cool. Yuji did mess with people's memories. That's what I'm saying. And like, that was never really answered. Like, you can kind of piece it together on your own and come up with your own answers. But as far as I'm aware, Gege is never like, no, this is the cause of that. Like, this is specifically what happened in black and white. Yuji and Deku both being teachers for the next generation. If Yuji is a teacher, I will be very surprised. It would not be out of character, but I would be very surprised. Yuji's grandpa is Sukuna's dad, and Sukuna and Yuji are bros. Yuji eats the final finger, and then Yuji gets killed just like Gojo wanted to do in the start of JJK. Both Sukuna and Yuji die in world peace. Interesting shitpost, but I don't know how I feel about that one. I don't think any further explanation will be provided on Yuji's family. Unfortunately, I tend to agree. I don't think it's likely. Having said that, I still am holding out for something. Just something. Because that's the thing, right? Like, obviously, we don't know what's going on with Yuji, but for Kenjaku to have taken over the body of the person that would be Yuji's mom, it's like, what's so special about her bloodline? Like, what was going on? We have been going on for about an hour, so we can maybe start to move on unless somebody else has another theory. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to talk about in this chapter. I guess the only other things in my head going into these next few chapters are, will we get a time skip? Obviously. Will Yuji, in the time that we spend in the next few chapters, will we get sort of a capstone, if you will, to another, or to his character arc where he sort of like comes to terms with who he is, right? Which he has already, but I would be interested to see if he adds anything to his character arc. I'm curious to see what kind of character moments we get for some of these other characters, like Megumi, like Maki, like Yuta, other characters. And then finally, I'm curious to see what might happen with Sukuna. Because unlike Uraume, we did not technically see Sukuna vanish into dust, into thin air. So there is a possibility that he's still in the story. But on that note, if nobody else has any questions or theories, we can probably move on to our next chapter of the week. Silver's in the chat. Silver's, what's going on, man? Pleasure to have you. Always good to see you. If you guys don't know, Silver's has his own YouTube channel. I don't know when the last time he's posted, but in addition to all of the other Weekly Shonen Jump series, he is a big One Piece fan. So if you'd like some fun, interesting One Piece content, or if you just want to support a cool dude on YouTube, make sure to go check out Silver's channel. I'll go ahead. Let me see if I can find your channel. Where is he? Can I find him? No, but let's do this. Let's go to... Here we go. Where are we? Nope, that's not it. There we go. So if you want to check out some cool One Piece content, or if you just want to support a cool dude in Anatube, make sure to go check out Silver's channel. It's hard to find the channel since I took that long break. Yeah, it's fine, man. I get it. I did it too. Everyone needs a break. How have I been? I've been great, you know, just grinding. Just doing my YouTube thing. Watch the ending be peak and everyone switches up. I mean, that's what people do. They just follow the trend and they try to be the biggest post on Twitter. You know how it is. I hope Dawn to Dawn breaks the internet into October. I think it will. I think it's going to be pretty big. That being said, not that it necessarily has to be compared to Chainsaw Man, but similar fan base, similar demographic. If you look at Chainsaw Man, part of the Chainsaw Man hype was thanks to the fact that the Chainsaw Man manga was already huge in the community. So when that anime came out, there was already a ton of hype going into that. So it had that sort of trend already. Whereas with Dawn to Dawn, Dawn to Dawn is interesting because depending on how it turns out, you could paint it either way. Dawn to Dawn is definitely not as popular as Chainsaw Man was prior to the anime. I mean, it's easily one of the biggest manga on Jump Plus. However, it doesn't have as much support online. Like, it doesn't have as big of a fan base online. That being said, you did have the leaks, so people have already seen a large share of the anime. And it might not be MAPPA, but it is being animated by Science Saru, arguably one of the best studios in the industry. So we'll see. I have big hopes, big expectations for Dawn to Dawn. Do we not like the JJK chapter? I like it. A lot of people like it. Everyone in the stream likes it. But it does seem pretty divisive. There's no winning when it comes to popular series. Yeah, people tend to be... This is what happened with Bleach. People tend to be very critical when the series ends. And then a year, 2 years, 5 years down the line, people kind of come back. And they're like, oh, you know, actually, this happened. I don't think this ending fit the series thematically at all. So, you're more or less the first person to say that in the stream. So, Ashura, I'll ask you this. How do you think this ending is inconsistent with the themes of Jujutsu Kaisen? I don't think the leaks will affect Dandadan. I hope not. I hope Dandadan blows up because I love that series. And based on the last chapter of the manga, I think the manga is going to start blowing up. So Slasher Voorhees thought it was very good, although rushed. Yeah, I think that's the general consensus, is this ending is good, but clearly is missing a good portion of things. On that note, unfortunately, One Piece is on break this week. So I think what we will do is end the stream with some Kagurabachi. So on that note, if you are not caught up on Kagurabachi, you may want to tune out at this point. I'm just going to scan the last chapter real quick. Actually, as a matter of fact, I don't think I finished this chapter. So I'm going to read chapter 46 first, just to get a recap, and then I will start chapter 47. But as we transition into Kagurabachi for the stream, I would just like to reiterate to everyone that you may contribute to the stream via super chats or super thanks. Again, zero expectation, but it is a small step and a big help for the channel. So any donation, even something as small as just $1, is a big help. On that note, let's read some Kagurabachi. So we're on chapter 46. Chapter 46, Unruly Punk. So we're at the sort of tribunal meeting with the Kamunabi, and they're meeting with Chihiro. They say, all right, Chihiro, step forward. See, Shiba says he's going to stay out of the meeting because he'll just kind of muck things up. The members of the Kamunabi are sort of eyeing Chihiro. They're trying to decide whether Chihiro really is the son of Rokuhira or not, his dad, his father. And so this whole meeting is, the purpose of this meeting is to decide what to do with him in the Enchanted Blade N10. And of course, Chihiro is at this meeting because he wants to meet the sword bearers. They explain we're sheltering the bearers of the eternal contracts with the enchanted blades at fortresses called Sanso. High-ranking Kamunabi sorcerers are stationed at those locations. Even with an enchanted blade, it would be hard to get past them. Security is extremely tight for one simple reason: to keep outsiders from making contact with the bearers. Obviously, we can't let just anybody near them. So now they're like, if this guy's really the son of who he says he is, have we done a blood test? Yeah, but we won't know the results of the blood till tomorrow. And they're like, well, why don't we just have this meeting tomorrow? This is pointless. And they're like, well, no, we have to have the meeting because the Shinichi is currently under a temporary seal. So we have to have this meeting to decide what the heck we're going to do. So they're looking at, of course, I already forgot his name, the son of the guy that ran the auction. And then what's her name says he can't right now. Can't show his special power. He only realized that power yesterday, and then he went all out. He needs time to rest. I'm sure I'll be fine in a few days. I witness his powers with my own eyes. It's an extremely useful skill. But where he stands is the big pain in the butt. But where he stands is the big pain in the butt. He's not the one calling the shots. It's this guy. And then, of course, she points to Chihiro. If so, then we need to decide whether or not we should give you access to the bearers. In other words, we have to decide if you're trustworthy. So they're saying, how could you be his son? Blah, 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 blah. So they're saying, we helped build the hideout for your father. You live there, right? And Chihiro says, yes, but my father brought me there himself. I've never met any of these people. So then he says, I'm through talking about my identity. All you have is my word. Forget who I am. Judge me based on what I've done. I stopped Sojo. I destroyed the Rakuzaichi. I reclaimed the Tsunuchi. Again, Chihiro being very rational, very cool-headed, but also very assertive. Was any of that bad for you? I saved you a lot of money you were planning to spend. And then the girl, who of course, her name I can't remember. If you're afraid Chihiro might hurt the bearers, allow me to say one thing. I'm absolutely sure he won't. He only kills evildoers. Kind of a nice moment between those two characters. That's quite the statement coming from her. Oh, come on. Hiyuki, thank you. How come Hiyuki doesn't say stuff like that about me? Because you're a creepy old man? Hiyuki is growing on me. I wasn't crazy about her at first, but I am liking her character more and more. Tell me one thing. Say you get the enchanted blades back. Then what? Will you just surrender them to us? Of course, he's like, Of course you're Rokuhira's son. You're arrogant and pig-headed. Which, of course, is a big surprise because we know Chihiro is a very rational character. So then they say, here's how we break the deadlock. We'll kill you. Then we entrust Enten to a member of the Kaminabi. Clearly that's the best for the Kaminabi, right? Somebody barges in. Excuse me, just a little while ago, the Kokugoku fortress was invaded. So of course one of the fortresses for the enchanted blades was just invaded as they're talking about what to do about the enchanted blades. According to eyewitnesses, after confirming several assassins and multiple spirit energy reactions characteristic of the enchanted blades, the fortress was annihilated. And then we see a panel of it being completely destroyed. Also, there was a sighting of a man with an emblem resembling flames on the back of his hand. So, of course, that's one of the members of the Hishaku. And they're talking about the blade bearer. Was he killed? We're trying to determine that. Multiple spirit reactions. But how? They're talking about. So Chihiro says it's possible. And then we cut to the auction. They must have a number of those. Interesting. Why would they have entrusted Cloud Gouger, the only usable enchanted blade, to Sojo? They're ready now. They'll attack the other sword bearers soon. And then Chihiro says, you're right. When I get the enchanted blades back, I have no intention of handing them over to the Kaminabi or anyone else. Once I get them back, we'll be enemies again. Hand over the N10 to someone else. If they're Kaminabi, there would be less risk. It'd be a wise choice. But there's no time. A new bearer wouldn't be able to master N10 overnight. You need immediate fighting power. I'm your best bet. So they decide to remove the cuffs, Chihiro clearly making a reasonable and persuasive case. So the leader of the group says, "We'll use you for now. However, we have no intention of letting you do as you please with the enchanted blades." They got a new report. The bearer is alive. The bearer escaped the fortress and is currently in flight. We'll provide guidance. You two make contact with them immediately and protect their life. So I will say it is interesting that what's his name is going to be a recurring and important character. I was kind of expecting him to sort of like take a break from the story. Not Chihiro, but the character we just met in the last arc. And then, of course, now we can read the new chapter. Is this a good time to start Kagurabachi? Yes, it's a good time to start Kagurabachi because we're just entering a new arc. So if you start later, then you will probably be in the middle of an arc, which is always an awkward time to catch up. Like to start a manga when at least one arc is done. Well, it's got basically 2 arcs done. So you will have more than a few volumes to read. The color page for the Kamunabi this week? I don't think that's the Kamunabi. I'm pretty sure this is the Blade Bearers. The Sword Bearer Assassination Arc. What a badass. Oh, I see. So we also have this color page with Chihiro, Hiyuki, Shiba, and the other 2 characters whose names I can't remember. Yeah, because if you look at the color page with the Swordbearer Assassination Arc, the green character looks like this one sword bearer, Yoji, it looks like his name is, Yoji Aruha. So it says, 18 years ago, the day Mr. Rokuhira entrusted me with Kumeyuri. Uraha, this blade suits you. It was the high point of my life. I fought hard in the Seitei War. Seriously, Mr. Rokuhira is incredibly cool. There aren't a lot of people out there with that kind of ironclad composure. Uraha, this blade suits you. He just keeps saying, Uraha, this blade suits you. Those eyes of his, unreal, right? I know I've said this a bunch of times, but fighting for that guy was the greatest honor of my life. As soon as the war was over, I voluntarily returned the enchanted blade to Mr. Rokuhira per his request. After that, he disappeared. I didn't hear a word of him for 15 years. And then it cuts to this character saying, what? So again, his name is Yoji, it looks like. A group called the Hishaku killed him. They stole all the enchanted blades. They've already killed Misaka, the bearer of the Cloud Gouger. They'll come after each warrior contracted to the enchanted blades, so they can use the swords they stole. So Yoji is taking the news of Chihiro's father's death pretty heavy. And then it says, the Kokugoku Fortress is a natural hot spring in northern Toyama Prefecture. I lived there in seclusion from the outside world, protected by 14 elite Kamunabi fighters. Every day I bathe in the same pools with the same people. And then they're sitting there. This ain't so bad. Hey, by the way, there was a message from headquarters. A 7th enchanted blade, and Mr. Rokuhira's son. They haven't ascertained whether he's actually Rokuhira's son or not. So then Yoji says, he must be an imposter. The nerve of that guy claiming Mr. Rokuhira's name. How can you be sure he's not really his son? I'm sure Mr. Rokuhira could never take care of a kid. So then we cut, and it says, I was ready to die any time. For 3 years after I learned of Mr. Rokuhira's death, I lost my will to live. So this guy was a Rokuhira fanboy. Like, lived and died for this guy. So then it cuts to the invasion that we just learned about. They're wearing the emblem of the Hishaku, report to headquarters. Those are enchanted blade, spirit, energy reactions. They've got some weird weapon. Honestly, we have no hope of beating them, but we can buy you some time. So they want him to run and escape. So then it cuts to what seems to be current time. What else? So he seems to be in some kind of train station, maybe. Head for Atago Station. We'll contact headquarters and have them send you new bodyguards immediately. New bodyguards? Who could they possibly send if these guys weren't tough enough? It would take warriors on at least the level of Azumi or Hiyuki. So, a confirmation that Hiyuki is commonly viewed, if not unanimously viewed, as the strongest of the Kamunabi. So then we see Yoji is walking through and says, excuse me, you're Mr. Uraha, right? Interestingly, they were able to spot him out pretty quickly, even though he's trying to be inconspicuous. Show me your insignia. Oh, right. You're my protection. How did you know it was me? There is one other guy, but we split up to look for you. So he pretty quickly spots the Hishaku. There's 3 of them. 4. Can you kill them? What sword is that? It's an ordinary self-defense sword. So we cut to Chihiro talking to Hakari. Finally remembered his name. Hakari, you're special. Normally there's only one kind of spirit energy in a person's body, and it's limited in capacity. So if you seal an internal contract with an enchanted blade, the price you pay is losing your original sorcery. So those with eternal contracts to the enchanted blades are basically defenseless. No enchanted blades, no sorcery. That's why they need bodyguards. So Hakari uses his powers to defend Yoji. Of course, he just takes an attack to the face. Starts slicing and dicing these dudes left and right. And then, of course, he has this badass scene. He's like, oh, shoot, I'm a bit rusty. So they rush onto the train. And there's agents all over the train. And then Chihiro, in classic fashion, just walks up from behind and does his little N10 attack, slices everyone up. He says, pleased to meet you, Mr. Uraha. My father spoke of you often. And Yoji has a total flip from accusing Chihiro from being an imposter to meeting Chihiro, and now he's like, oh no, he definitely must be his son. And he says, I can fight for your sake again, Mr. Rokuhira. And they're like, he might be a bit screwy. It's kind of the theme of Kagurabachi, is everyone but Chihiro is kind of a nutcase. Anyway, I do like this character, Yoji, Uraha. He does seem like a really fun character. And I'm ecstatic that Hakari is going to be a seemingly consistent partner of Chihiro. I think they make a much more interesting duo than Chihiro and Shiba. Not that I don't dislike Shiba, but I like Hakari more. Anyway, that being said, I think Kagurabachi is headed in an exciting new direction for the plot. On that note, I think this would be a good point to end the stream. As far as this week, we will stream on Tuesday because Dawn to Dawn is finally back. I think Chainsaw Man will also be back. It was on break last week, weirdly enough. So we'll stream on Tuesday. As of right now, it's looking like we're going to stream on Friday. We'll be talking about My Hero Academia in a retrospective, hopefully on Friday. Other than that, look forward to 2 more videos this week. And make sure to read that September post if you haven't already to find out what you can expect for new things, new exciting things in this lovely month of September. Is it safe to assume Kagurabachi is safe from Jump's axe? I think it's more than safe. I think in the coming month, in the coming next 2 months, I think Kagurabachi is slowly going to come to fill the gap left by Jujutsu Kaisen and will become the face of Shonen Jump alongside One Piece. On that note, thank you everyone who showed up. Another great stream. Thank you to Soul and to Justin for donating. Massive help. Can't thank you enough. Again, we're going to aim for like $50 to $75 in streams going forward. But as always, even just $1 is a huge help. Helps support the channel, and it's a small way you can be a part of the channel's future. On that note, thanks again, and I look forward to hearing from you soon.